Step one in booking more corporate customers is to make sure your pricing is within the corporate range. The corporate range in general, depending on the state, depending on your area, is going to be somewhere between $10 and $20. Corporate customers not looking for the best barbecue or the best seafood or the best whatever it is. For the most part, these bigger companies that are just doing a regular luncheon want to hire a company that can get their staff some good food at a cheap price and look professional. So make sure you maneuver your menu specifically for corporate customers somewhere between $10 and $20. Now, that may mean that you have to maneuver some of your foods around. That may mean you may only offer your higher profit items within this $10 package to make sure that you make some kind of money. If you're not willing to do $10, then that's totally fine, but you're going to miss out on some things. It just is what it is. That $10 may make sense to you if they hire you for 500 people. It may get there. Now also realize, maneuver your packaging around to where your customer can make the decision on what they want to spend. I'm telling you now, typically they don't want to spend no more than $20. But maneuver your menu to give your customer options to where they can spend $10, $12, $18, somewhere right around there, because every person calling you almost all the time has a particular budget that they have to stay within. And so they want to be able to be flexible to offer as much food and as much service as they can within that particular budget. Now, there's going to be some budgets that's going to be a bit higher. There's going to be some corporate customers that spend 40, 50, 60, 80 bucks with you, maybe even $100 with you. But for almost all the time, those are going to be special occasions. Those are going to be holiday events, retirements from somebody retired for a certain amount of time. And so those come, but not very often. So once their customer wants to spend a bit more money with you, then also give them the option to be able to choose from your regular menu. Now they can go and then have free range. Now there's a fine line between giving your customer free range to be able to make their own decisions versus making a decision for your customer. What I mean by that is your corporate customer, your job is not necessarily to figure out the menu. They have a job to do. As they're at their regular job, they need to get that job done. They don't want to take a lot of time to think, okay, well, if I do this and after I do this. So what you want to do is once you get a chance to speak to your corporate customer, however you get a chance to speak with them, ask them right up front. You go through the sales process that we've talked about. But then you ask your corporate customer, because it's totally fine. Hey, Mr. Customer, we want to do whatever we can to make sure that we earn your business. And I want to make sure that you get exactly what you're looking for. So can you do me a favor and just tell me about the type budget you're looking at? Like, how much per person do you want to spend? What's your budget like overall on what you're trying to spend? And if they respond and say, well, I don't know, Terry, I'm not sure exactly what we want to spend. My boss just told me to gather a couple quotes. Okay, no, fair enough. We got you covered. And I'll get that for you for sure. But just to give you a heads up, I mean, we can offer you hot dogs or ribeye steaks. And there's pricing all in between those. So typically, like when you guys do catering, do you know about how much you spend on average, like overall? Or if not, like what do you typically when you get catering? See, these are questions that you need to know, that you don't ask to your emotional buyers. You don't ask these to your bar mitzvahs, your weddings, none of that. You don't need to do that. But your corporate people, they don't have an emotion into buying. They have a budget that you want to try to stay within, that you have to stay within, or they're not going to use you. Now, once you kind of get them bought in a little bit, there's always room for upsells. Once you get that credit card and you get that deposit, now we're talking about a whole different game. But initially, to be able to book, you got to stay within that budget. If the person you're speaking with doesn't know, I need you to assume that their maximum amount of dollars is $20. Even if they say $25, $30, don't you give them a quote for $30, because more than likely you won't get that sale, because somebody else knows that typically corporate customers like to stay between $10 and $20. And you're going to send out a quote thinking, hey, man, I just sent out a quote for 200 people and I quoted them the biggest package we got. I'm about to get $10,000. Oh. You're not. I'm telling you from experience, 9 out of 10 times, you're not. Not for a regular luncheon on a Wednesday in June, just because it's not going to happen. Now, will it? It can, sure. But believe me when I'm telling you, you want to be able to be on their list for return catering companies that come back, provide a great service, give them food that is inexpensive, but high profit for you. If you can make salad and green beans and mashed potatoes and a piece of chicken, what does that cost you? $1.50 per person, maybe $3 max on your end, and then you sell it for $10, $11, you're doing pretty good. So I'm just saying, this is where you want to stay in with your corporate customers. Give them the option or somewhat even the illusion of choosing, but you guide them and you kind of know where they need to go and where they need to stay within, because most of the time they're not going to call you back and say, hey, Terry, we want to go with you, but you guys are just too expensive. They're not going to do that. They're just not going to call, and they're going to go with the other person who is a bit less expensive. And then if you say, well, that's okay, I don't need that customer anyway, then you don't need corporate catering. That's just the name of the game. Why do you think that corporate catering, for the most part, gets Subway sandwiches and pizza and tacos and really simple things almost all the time? Because it's cheap, man. It's cheap. It's inexpensive. You can offer your same rice bowl or whatever you do and just accommodate to the pricing. So first thing you want to do, if you want to get into this corporate game, this midweek money, adjust your pricing to your customer. That way you become more attractive. That's step one.